Captain Jun-Ho Park stood tall on the bridge of the EDF Peacemaker. His dark eyes looked out at the stars through the main view screen. The blue-green planet of the Talaxians grew larger as they approached. "Captain, all systems are running well," said Lieutenant Duyan. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel. "We remain undetected." Jun-Ho nodded. "Good. Keep us on this path." The EDF Peacemaker was humanity's newest and most powerful warship. After 20 years of war with the Talaxians, humans had finally built a ship that could change everything. "Sir, I have Director Hyun-Ki on the secure channel," said Communications Officer Jae-yun. Her voice was calm, but Jun-Ho could see the tension in her shoulders. "Put him through," Jun-Ho ordered. The stern face of Director Hyun-Ki appeared on the screen. His gray hair was cut short, and his uniform was perfectly pressed. "Captain Park, your mission status?" asked the director. "We are approaching the Talaxian homeworld, sir. We should be in position within 3 hours." Director Hyun-Ki's expression did not change. "Remember, Captain, this mission is not about revenge. It is about peace." "Peace through strength," Jun-Ho said, repeating the words he had heard many times. "Exactly. The Talaxians only respect power. Show them ours, and they will talk. That is why we built the Peacemaker." Jun-Ho thought about the 3 human colonies that had been destroyed in the last Talaxian attack. Billions of lives lost. His own family had been on New Seoul when it fell. "I understand the mission, sir," he said firmly. "Good. Earth Central Command out." The screen went dark. Chief Engineer Ta-won walked onto the bridge. His hands were stained with engine grease, and dark circles showed under his eyes. He had been working non-stop for days. "Captain, the quantum displacement drive is running better than expected," he reported. "The new modifications are holding." "And the gravitational weapon system?" Jun-Ho asked. Ta-won smiled for the first time in weeks. "It's ready. We can disable their entire defense network without firing a single shot, just as planned." Science Officer Minna looked up from her station. "Captain, I've been studying the Talaxian defense grid. There's a weakness at these coordinates." She sent the data to the main screen. "If we position ourselves here, their weapons cannot target us effectively." Jun-Ho studied the display. "Excellent work, Minna." Security Chief Bajun stepped forward. "Sir, I must remind you that no human ship has ever come this close to the Talaxian homeworld. If we're detected too soon—" "We won't be," Weapons Officer Sung Min interrupted. "Our stealth systems are generations ahead of their detection technology." Jun-Ho looked around at his crew. The best of humanity, chosen for this critical mission. They had trained for months. They knew what was at stake. "The Talaxians think they've won this war," Jun-Ho said. "Their last attack was meant to break us, to force our surrender." He walked to the center of the bridge. "Instead, it gave us the determination to build this ship, to develop technology they cannot match." He looked at the blue-green planet growing larger on the screen. "For 20 years, they have pushed us back, destroyed our worlds, killed our people. They think humans are weak." Jun-Ho's voice grew stronger. "Today, we show them they are wrong." The bridge fell silent. Everyone felt the weight of the moment. "Take us in, Lieutenant Duyan," Jun-Ho ordered. "It's time to rewrite the rules of this war." As the Peacemaker moved silently toward the Talaxian homeworld, Jun-Ho touched the small photo he kept in his pocket. His family smiled back at him, frozen in time. "We did not want this war," he whispered to himself, "but we will end it." The massive warship slipped deeper into Talaxian space, carrying with it humanity's last, best hope for peace. Lieutenant Duyan's hands moved quickly over the stealth system controls. Sweat formed on her forehead as she worked. No human ship had ever gotten this deep into Talaxian space before. "Stealth field is holding at full strength, Captain," she reported. "We are still invisible to their sensors." Captain Jun-Ho nodded. "How long until we reach our target position?" 1 hour and 20 minutes, answered Du Yun. The bridge of the Peacemaker was quiet. Everyone knew that one small mistake could alert the Talaxians to their presence, and if that happened too soon, their mission would fail. Chief Engineer Tadwan entered the bridge. His uniform was wrinkled from hours spent in the engine room. "Captain, I've checked the displacement drive again," he said. "It's working better than we expected. The new changes have made it even more powerful." "Will it hold when we need it?" Junho asked. Taiwan smiled. "Yes, sir. When we drop the stealth field and activate the gravitational systems, we'll have more than enough power." "Good," said Junho. "This ship is humanity's best hope. It needs to work perfectly." Communications Officer Jia-Yun suddenly straightened in her seat. Her fingers pressed against her earpiece. "Captain, I'm picking up Talaxian military transmissions," she said. "They're not encrypted. I think they don't expect anyone to be listening this close to their homeworld." Junho moved to her station. "What are they saying?" Jia-Yun listened carefully. "They're discussing Earth's recent silence. No human ships have engaged them for the past month while we prepared for this mission." She paused, listening more. "They think we're getting ready to surrender after they destroyed our colonies." A small smile formed on Junho's face. "They have no idea what's coming." Security Chief Hejun looked at the tactical display. "The Talaxians have 5 defense stations in orbit around their planet. Their main fleet is positioned here, near their moon, and will appear here," said Weapons Officer Sungmin, pointing to a spot directly above the Talaxian capital city, right where their defense grid has a blind spot. Science Officer Minna added, "The blind spot exists because of how they arrange their defense platforms. They never expected an enemy to find it or be able to use it. Earth intelligence spent years finding this weakness," Junho told his crew. "Many brave people died to get us this information." The blue-green planet grew larger on their view screen as they approached. The Peacemaker moved silently through space, unseen by the aliens who had caused so much suffering. Jia-Yun continued to listen to the Talaxian communications. "Sir, they're talking about their next attack plans. They want to hit Earth directly this time." The crew fell silent. An attack on Earth itself would be devastating. "They won't get the chance," Junho said firmly. "Today, everything changes." Taiwan checked his tablet. "Captain, the gravitational weapons are charged and ready. We can activate them as soon as we drop the stealth field." "And our position?" Junho asked Du Yun. "We'll reach the target coordinates in 45 minutes, sir." Junho walked slowly around the bridge, looking at each of his crew members. These men and women represented the best of humanity. They carried the hopes of every human in the galaxy. "When we show ourselves to the Talaxians, they will try to destroy us immediately," he said. "But for the first time, we have the advantage. The Peacemaker can withstand their attacks long enough to demonstrate our new technology." He stopped in front of the main view screen, watching as they approached the alien world. "Once they see what we can do, they will have to choose: make peace with us or face destruction." Minna looked up from her station. "Captain, I'm detecting movement in the Talaxian fleet. They're running battle drills." "Let them," said Junho. "Soon they'll be running for real." The Peacemaker continued its silent approach, carrying with it the power to either end a war or escalate it beyond imagination. "We have reached the target coordinates, Captain," Lieutenant Du Yan announced. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. Captain Junho took a deep breath. This was the moment everything would change. "All stations, report status," he ordered. "Weapon systems ready," said Sungmin. "Engine power at full capacity," added Taiwan. "Communications ready to broadcast on all Talaxian frequencies," Jia-Yun confirmed. "Shields at maximum strength," reported Hejun. Junho nodded. "It's time." Lieutenant Du Yun dropped the stealth field. Du Yun pressed a series of buttons, stealth field disengaging in 3, 2, 1. The massive human warship suddenly appeared in the sky above the Talaxian capital. On the view screen, the crew could see the city below them. Tall, spiral buildings stretched toward the sky. Thousands of Talaxians moved through the streets, unaware of what was happening. "We are now visible to all Talaxian sensors," said Du Yun. For a moment, nothing happened. Then alarms began to sound across the Talaxian defense network. "They've spotted us," said He Jun. "Orbital defense platforms are turning to target our position. Talaxian warships are changing course," added Minna, watching her sensor readings. "They're moving to attack." Jun-Ho remained calm. "Wait for it." "Sir, we're receiving thousands of communications from the planet," said Jai-Yun. "They're panicking. No enemy has ever reached their homeworld before." "Talaxian weapon systems are powering up," reported Sungmin. "They'll be in firing range in 30 seconds. Jun-Ho turned to Engineer Taiwan. "Activate the gravitational displacement field." Taiwan nodded and entered the command. The Peacemaker hummed as its most powerful system came online. "Gravitational field active and expanding," said Taiwan. Outside the ship, space itself seemed to ripple. An invisible wave spread outward from the Peacemaker. On the view screen, the crew watched as the approaching Talaxian ships suddenly slowed. Their engines still burned, but they could not move forward. The orbital defense platforms aimed at the Peacemaker, but their weapons did not fire. "It's working," whispered Minna. "The gravitational field is holding them in place without damaging their ships." "All Talaxian vessels and weapon systems have been immobilized," reported Sungmin, unable to hide his amazement. "They can't attack us." Jun-Ho turned to Jai-Yun. "Open a channel to all Talaxian frequencies." "Channel open, sir." Jun-Ho squared his shoulders and looked directly at the camera. "This is Captain Jun-Ho Park of the Earth Defense Force vessel Peacemaker. For 20 years, you have waged war against humanity. You have destroyed our colonies and killed billions of our people." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You believed us weak. You thought we would surrender. Instead, we have developed technology beyond your understanding. As you can see, we have neutralized your entire defense network without firing a single shot." On the view screen, they could see confusion spreading across the Talaxian capital. Citizens looked up at the sky, pointing at the human warship that had appeared from nowhere. "The gravitational field is stable," reported Taiwan. "We can maintain this indefinitely." Jun-Ho nodded and continued his message. "We could have come to destroy you, as you tried to destroy us. But humans are not like Talaxians. We seek peace, not extinction." "Sir," interrupted Jai-Yun, "we're receiving a response from the Talaxian High Command. They're demanding to know how we bypassed their defenses." "Tell them that's the least of our new capabilities," said Jun-Ho. "Request to speak with Grand Marshal Krell directly." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Grand Marshal Krell was the supreme leader of the Talaxian forces, responsible for the worst attacks on human worlds. "Captain," said Minna quietly, "the Talaxians are scanning our ship. They're trying to understand our technology." "Let them try," said Jun-Ho. "They won't be able to comprehend it. Not yet." He looked at the immobilized Talaxian fleet on the view screen. "Today, we change the balance of power," he told his crew. "Today, we show the Talaxians that humanity will not be conquered." The EDF Peacemaker hovered over the Talaxian capital, a silent promise of what would happen if peace was not achieved. The bridge of the Peacemaker fell silent as they waited for the Talaxian response. Outside, the alien fleet remained frozen in space, caught in the gravitational field. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Talaxian High Command," Jai-Yun announced. "Grand Marshal Krell is responding personally." Jun-Ho straightened his uniform. "Put him on screen." The view screen flickered, and the face of Grand Marshal Krell appeared. The Talaxian leader had gray-blue skin with ridge-like markings. His 4 eyes narrowed as he looked at Jun-Ho. "Human captain." Krell's voice was deep and cold. Your presence here is an act of war. Junho almost laughed. We have been at war for 20 years, Marshal Krell. A war that you started. How did you reach our homeworld undetected? Demanded Krell. And what have you done to our defense fleet? Science Officer Minna stepped forward. Captain, may I explain our technology to the Marshal? It might help him understand our position. Junho nodded. Go ahead. Minna addressed the Talaxian leader. Grand Marshal, what you are experiencing is a controlled gravitational distortion field. We are not using conventional weapons or disruption technology. We have learned to manipulate the fabric of space itself. She brought up a simple diagram on a side screen. Your ships are still fully functional. Their engines are still running. But they cannot move because we have altered the gravitational forces around them. Krell's expression did not change, but two of his 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of Talaxian surprise. This is impossible, he said. Yet here we are, replied Junho. Your entire fleet is immobilized by a technology you cannot counter. Security Chief Hejun moved closer to Junho. Sir, our sensors show they're trying to launch small attack craft from their moon base. Craft that might be outside our current field. Extend the gravitational field to cover their moon, ordered Junho calmly. Taiwan nodded and adjusted the controls. Field extending now, Captain. On a secondary screen, they watched as the small Talaxian fighters slowed and stopped in mid-flight, caught in the expanded field. Krell saw this too. For the first time, the Talaxian leader looked concerned. What do you want, human? He asked. Junho stepped forward. Peace, Marshal Krell. Immediate cessation of all hostilities against human worlds. Complete withdrawal from the 3 star systems you've occupied. And reparations for the colonies you destroyed. Impossible, Krell hissed. The High Council would never agree to such terms. Then perhaps a demonstration of our capabilities will change their minds, said Junho. His voice was calm but firm. We did not want this war, but we have evolved to end it. He turned to Taiwan. Engineer, prepare the gravitational array for a targeted pulse. Low intensity. Target, sir, asked Taiwan. Junho looked at the tactical display. That uninhabited moon in the outer system. The small one. You think threats will force us to surrender? Krell demanded. Talaxians do not bow to intimidation. This is not intimidation, Marshal, replied Junho. This is a new reality. You believe humans were technologically inferior. You were wrong. He turned to Jai Yun. Send our complete terms to the Talaxian High Council. They have 1 hour to consider them. And if we refuse? Asked Krell. Then we will demonstrate what the peacemaker can really do, said Junho. Right now, we're simply holding your ships in place. We haven't harmed anyone. Minna added, our technology can be much more focused, if necessary. Weapons Officer Sungmin displayed a simulation on the screen. It showed how the peacemaker's gravitational pulse could target specific buildings or areas on a planet's surface. We don't wish to use this capability, said Junho. But make no mistake, Marshal Krell. Humanity will no longer suffer Talaxian aggression. Krell was silent for a long moment. Then he said, I will take your terms to the High Council. 1 hour, Marshal, Junho reminded him. The peacemaker will remain in position until we have an answer. As Krell's image disappeared from the screen, the bridge crew exchanged tense glances. Do you think they'll agree? Asked Du Yun. Junho looked out at the frozen Talaxian fleet. They have no choice. For the first time in this war, we hold all the power. The peacemaker continued to hover above the Talaxian capital, a silent reminder of humanity's newfound strength. Captain Junho watched the time display count down. The hour was almost up, and the Talaxian High Council had not yet responded. Any word from them? He asked Jai Yun. Nothing yet, Captain, she replied. All Talaxian channels are unusually quiet. Security Chief Hejun frowned. They could be stalling, sir. trying to find a way to counter our technology. They won't, said Minna confidently. The principles behind our gravitational field are beyond their current science. The bridge door slid open, and Engineer Todd 1 entered. Captain, I've prepared the gravitational array as you ordered. We can deliver a focused pulse to the target moon whenever you're ready. Jun-Ho nodded. Thank you, Todd 1. Sir, Jai-Yun called out suddenly. Incoming transmission from the Talaxian High Council. On screen, ordered Jun-Ho. The image of Grand Marshal Krell appeared again, this time with 6 other Talaxians behind him. These were the members of the High Council, the most powerful leaders in Talaxian society. Captain Park, Krell said stiffly. The High Council has considered your terms. And? Prompted Jun-Ho. We reject them, said Krell. Talaxians do not surrender to inferior species. Your ship is impressive, but it is only one vessel. You cannot control our entire empire. Jun-Ho had expected this. The Talaxians had been the dominant power for too long to accept defeat easily. I understand, Marshal Krell, he said calmly. Then we will proceed with our demonstration. He turned to Todd 1. Engineer, activate the gravitational pulse. Target the small moon as planned. 5% power. 5%, sir. Todd 1 asked. Are you sure that's enough to make an impression? It will be, said Jun-Ho. Begin. Todd 1 entered the commands. The Peacemaker hummed as energy built up in its main gravitational array. Gravitational pulse ready, Captain, reported Todd 1. Fire, ordered Jun-Ho. From the Peacemaker, an invisible wave of focused gravitational energy shot toward the small, uninhabited moon in the outer system. On the view screen, they all watched as the energy reached its target. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the surface of the moon began to ripple, as if it were made of water instead of rock. A circular area about 10 miles wide sank inward, forming a perfect bowl-shaped crater. The bridge was silent as they watched. Even though they had tested this technology before, seeing it used at this scale was still shocking. Gravitational pulse complete, Captain, said Todd 1 quietly. Target affected as predicted. Jun-Ho turned back to the screen, where Krell and the High Council were watching in stunned silence. That was 5% of our capability, Marshal, said Jun-Ho. The pulse was tightly focused on an uninhabited area. We can target with much greater precision if needed, or with much greater power. One of the council members whispered something to Krell. The Marshal's face had paled to a lighter blue. You could do this to a city, he asked. We could, confirmed Jun-Ho, or to military installations, or to specific buildings. Our gravitational technology allows for surgical precision. He let that sink in before continuing. But unlike the Talaxians, we do not wish to destroy. We only wish to end this war. How many of these ships do you have? Demanded another council member. Jun-Ho smiled slightly but did not answer. The truth was that the Peacemaker was the only one of its kind, but the Talaxians didn't need to know that. You have seen what one can do, he said instead. Now, I ask again, will you accept our terms for peace? The council members conferred among themselves, speaking rapidly in their own language. Krell looked increasingly agitated. Finally, Krell turned back to the screen. The High Council requests a brief recess to discuss your demonstration. We will contact you again within the hour. Very well, said Jun-Ho. But remember, Marshal, the Peacemaker remains in position above your capital. We await your answer. As the transmission ended, Lieutenant Du-Yun let out a breath she had been holding. They're scared, she said. Good, replied Jun-Ho. Fear can be the first step toward wisdom. The Peacemaker continued its silent watch over the Talaxian homeworld, its demonstration of power changing the course of the war. While they waited for the Talaxian response, Captain Jun-Ho ordered his crew to maintain their positions. The gravitational field continued to hold the Talaxian fleet in place. Sir, called Security Chief He-Jun, our sensors are picking up unusual activity. Explain, said Junho, moving quickly to Hejun's station. Talaxian military channels have erupted in chaos, Hejun reported. There seems to be disagreement among their commanders about how to respond to us. Minna checked her own readings. Captain, I'm also detecting changes in the planet's energy grid. Power is being redirected from military installations to civilian centers. Interesting, said Junho. They're preparing their people for a possible attack. Lieutenant Du Yun looked up from her console. Sir, I'm detecting movement at the main spaceport. Several small vessels are launching. Junho tensed. Weapons? No, sir, replied Du Yun. They appear to be diplomatic shuttles. No weapons signatures detected. Jai-Yun's console beeped. Captain, incoming message from the Talaxian High Council. On screen, ordered Junho. Grand Marshal Krell appeared again. He looked less confident than before. Captain Park, he said formally, the High Council has authorized me to open diplomatic channels with your vessel. We are sending Ambassador Vex to discuss your terms. Junho exchanged glances with his officers. This was unexpected. We will receive your ambassador, he replied. One shuttle only, with no more than 5 representatives. Agreed, said Krell. The shuttle will arrive at your vessel in 20 minutes. After the transmission ended, Hejun stepped closer to Junho. Sir, this could be a trap. I don't think so, said Junho. They've seen what we can do. They're afraid. Should we lower the gravitational field to allow their shuttle to dock? Asked Taiwan. No, said Junho. Create a narrow corridor in the field. Let them see that we control this technology with complete precision. Taiwan nodded and went to work at his station. Prepare the conference room, Junho told Jai-Yun, and have Science Officer Minna prepare a full data package on the consequences of continued war. Yes, Captain. 20 minutes later, the Talaxian diplomatic shuttle approached the Peacemaker. The small vessel moved carefully through the corridor that Taiwan had created in the gravitational field. Junho, Minna, and Hejun waited in the docking bay as the shuttle landed. The door opened, and 5 Talaxians emerged. At their head was Ambassador Vex, easily identified by his formal robes. Captain Park, said Vex, his voice smooth and practiced. I am Ambassador Vex of the Talaxian High Council. Thank you for receiving us. Welcome aboard the Peacemaker, Ambassador, replied Junho. Please follow me to our conference room. As they walked through the ship, Junho noticed the Talaxians looking around with great interest. They had never been on a human vessel before. In the conference room, Minna had prepared a large display. Once everyone was seated, she activated it. Ambassador Vex, she began. What you see here is data we've collected on the impact of continued war between our species. The display showed graphs and images. It clearly demonstrated that while both sides would suffer greatly from continued fighting, the Talaxians would face devastating losses now that humans had developed the new gravitational technology. As you can see, said Minna, peace is the only logical option. Ambassador Vex studied the data. This technology of yours, how did you develop it? That's not relevant to our discussion, said Junho firmly. What matters is that we have it, and we are prepared to use it if necessary. Vex nodded slowly. I understand. The High Council will need time to consider all of this. We request 12 hours to consult with our government. You have 6 hours, replied Junho. The Peacemaker will remain in position until we have an agreement. And your terms remain the same? Asked Vex. They do, said Junho. Peace, withdrawal from human territories, reparations for the colonies you destroyed. Ambassador Vex stood. I will relay this to the High Council immediately. As the Talaxians prepared to leave, Vex turned back to Junho. Captain, for the first time in our history, Talaxians feel fear when looking at the stars. You have changed everything. Junho nodded. That was the intention, Ambassador. War changes when one side can no longer win. After the Talaxians departed, Hejun turned to Junho. Do you think they'll agree to our terms, sir? Yes, said Junho. They have no choice. For the first time in this war, they understand what it means to be powerless. While the Talaxian High Council deliberated, Captain Junho retreated to his private quarters. He needed time alone to think. Sitting at his small desk, he took out the photograph of his family. His wife and 2 children had been on New Sol Colony when the Talaxians attacked. He ran his finger gently over their faces. "We're so close," he whispered to the image. "So close to ending this war." His door chimed. "Enter," he called. Communications Officer Jai-yun stepped into the room. Her face was pale. "Sir, we're receiving emergency transmissions from the Earth colonies in the Proxima system. The Talaxians are still attacking there." Junho stood up quickly. "Show me." They rushed back to the bridge. On the main screen, distress signals from 3 human outposts flashed red. "The attack started about 2 hours ago," explained Jai-yun, "before we made contact with the Talaxian homeworld." Security Chief Hajun slammed his fist on the console. "They're still fighting while pretending to negotiate. We should show them what the peacemaker can really do." "No," said Junho firmly. "Those attacks were launched before they knew we were here. The ships would have been on their way already." "But sir," argued Hajun, "our people are dying while we talk." Minna checked the data. "The attacks are being carried out by a small battle group. Most likely they haven't received new orders yet." Junho faced a difficult choice. He could use the peacemaker's power to force an immediate surrender, possibly saving the colonies under attack. But that might destroy any chance for lasting peace. Director Hyunki's words echoed in his mind. Peace through strength, not revenge. "We will stay on course," he decided. "Jai-yun, send a message to Ambassador Vex. Inform him of these ongoing attacks and demand they be stopped immediately." "Yes, Captain," she replied. Lieutenant Du-yeon looked concerned. "Sir, what if they deny knowledge of the attacks? What if they're just stalling for time?" "Then we will know their true intentions," said Junho, "and we will act accordingly." An hour passed with no response from the Talaxians. The reports from the attacked colonies grew worse. Hajun grew increasingly agitated. "Captain, we should target their military command center," he suggested. "Show them we're serious." "I agree with Hajun," said Sungmin. "They need to understand there are consequences." Minna shook her head. "If we escalate now, we risk losing everything we've worked for." Junho listened to his crew's arguments. The decision weighed heavily on him. In his quarters, he had promised his family that he would end this war. But what kind of ending would be right? Finally, Jai-yun's console beeped. "Captain, incoming transmission from the Talaxian High Council." "On screen," ordered Junho. Grand Marshal Krell appeared, with Ambassador Vex beside him. "Captain Park," said Krell, "we have received your message about the attacks in the Proxima system. Orders have been sent to cease all offensive operations immediately." "Can you prove this?" asked Junho. "We are transmitting the recall codes now," said Ambassador Vex. "You can monitor our military channels to confirm." Jai-yun checked her console. "The codes appear genuine, Captain. Talaxian ships are breaking off their attacks." Krell continued, "The High Council has reached a decision on your terms. We are prepared to accept them, with one condition." "What condition?" asked Junho cautiously. "That humans share their new gravitational technology for peaceful applications only," said Krell. "Both our species could benefit from such advances if used for construction, energy production, and planetary development." Junho was surprised. This was not what he had expected. "You would trust us with the technology exchange?" After 20 years of war, Ambassador Vex stepped forward. "Captain, your demonstration showed us that humans could have destroyed our civilization today, but chose not to. Perhaps there is more that unites our species than divides us." Junho looked around at his crew. They seemed as surprised as he was. "I will need to consult with Earth Command," he said finally. But I believe they will agree to limited technological cooperation for peaceful purposes only. Then we have the beginning of peace, said Ambassador Vex. As the transmission ended, the bridge fell silent. After 20 years of brutal war, it seemed almost impossible that it could end this way. Did we just win? Asked Du Yan quietly. No, said Junho, looking at the photograph of his family he still held in his hand. Nobody wins in war. But perhaps now, both our species can start to heal. 1 year later, Captain Junho Park stood on the observation deck of the orbital station between worlds. The large space station hung in orbit between Earth and the Talaxian homeworld, a symbol of the new peace. Through the wide viewport, Junho watched ships move back and forth between the two planets. Some were human vessels, others Talaxian, and many were joint crews working together. Quite a view, isn't it, Captain? Said a familiar voice. Junho turned to see Director Hyun-ki walking toward him. The older man looked much more relaxed than when Junho had last seen him before the Peacemaker's mission. Yes, sir, it is, replied Junho. I never thought I would see humans and Talaxians working together. None of us did, said Hyun-ki, joining him at the viewport. 20 years of war ended in a single day because of you and your crew. Junho shook his head. Because of the Peacemaker. Our ship never fired a shot in anger, yet it ended the war. Below them on the main level of the station, humans and Talaxians moved among each other. Scientists from both species worked side by side in the laboratories. Engineers shared ideas and built new machines together. Have you visited the science wing yet? Asked Hyun-ki. Not yet, said Junho. I just arrived. Then you should see what your engineer Tao-1 is doing. Come. They walked through the station until they reached the main science laboratory. Inside, Tao-1 was working with a mixed team of human and Talaxian scientists. He looked up and smiled when he saw Junho. Captain, I'm glad you could come, he said, rushing over. What are you working on, Tao-1? Asked Junho. Tai-1 led them to a large display. It showed a damaged planet with severe environmental problems. We're using modified gravitational technology to heal planets, explained Tao-1. The same principles that made the Peacemaker's weapons so powerful can be used to fix environmental damage. On both our worlds, added a Talaxian scientist who joined them. The technology works even better for environmental repair than it did as a weapon. Junho watched as the display showed how focused gravitational fields could stabilize fault lines, redirect ocean currents, and even help clean polluted areas. I never imagined this would be the outcome when we built the Peacemaker, said Junho. Hyun-ki nodded. Sometimes the most powerful weapons create the strongest peace. They left the science wing and continued their tour of the station. In another area, they found Minna teaching a class of young Talaxians about human culture. Captain, she called when she saw him. I was just telling my students about your mission on the Peacemaker. What do they think about it? Asked Junho. They're grateful, said Minna. Most of them are from families that lived near the capital. They know what could have happened if you had chosen destruction instead of peace. Later, Junho stood alone on the observation deck again. A mixed crew of human and Talaxian scientists was boarding the ship below. They were heading to a distant planet for a joint research mission. Hajun joined him at the viewport. The former security chief now worked as a liaison between human and Talaxian security forces. Still hard to believe, isn't it? Asked Hajun, watching the ship prepare for launch. Yes, agreed Junho. If you had told me a year ago that we would be working with Talaxians, I would have said you were crazy. The Peacemaker changed everything, said Hejun. Your decision to show strength without destruction made this possible. Junho touched the small photograph in his pocket. His family was gone, but their memory had helped him make the right choice when it mattered most. Sometimes, he said quietly, peace comes not from defeating your enemy, but from showing them a better path forward. The ship below launched, carrying humans, and Talaxians into space together. Junho watched it go, a small smile on his face. The war was over. A new era had begun. Peace had been achieved when their warship hovered, not through destruction, but through the promise of a shared future.